welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace and we're here at Cybos 2019 in London. Kindly joining me now in the studio is Sudheer Padiyar from Suntec. Hello Sudheer, thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, hi Hannah, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's the last day of Cybos. And what I want to talk to you about first are some of the trends we're seeing in EMEA. There's been a lot of discussion about it, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Sure. No, thanks Hannah. I think over the last 3 days we've had over 100 conversations with banks across the world, and EMEA in particular. So if I look at the trends both on the retail and the corporate side, on the corporate front, I think banks' top agenda for this year is around profitability and return on equity. That's one of the top agendas, in addition to payment initiatives that they're running across the bank. Automation is another area where we see a lot of banks focusing on. And while some of them have worked on it for the last couple of years on the front office front, there's a lot of work to be done on the mid office and back office. And this is where Suntec has a role to play, and we've had some conversations with those banks on the profitability, because most of these corporate banks today have a challenge in terms of a revenue leakage, which they're not able to even estimate today. So in our conversations in the last 2-3 days, we've realized that many of them have a very old manual processing that happens from the time a deal is initiated till the deal is reviewed or renewed at the end of the term. So this is one area where every bank wants to focus on. How do I plug the revenue leakage? Because that is something which runs into millions of euros or dollars every quarter. On the retail front, I think the challenge which most of the banks are facing today is the disruption that is happening thanks to the fintechs, thanks to some of the challenger banks that are very, very innovative, agile, and they're doing things on a daily basis and not months and quarters, right? So some of the discussions we've had with these banks are around how do I personalize, how do I bring in speed, time to market in terms of bringing in propositions to the market. Because of the legacy backend system, many of them have challenges in making those changes within their core system. So we've talked about digital core on a proposition where you can elevate certain key functionalities on our product, pricing, offers, deal into a middle office layer, which will help them innovate faster, come up with faster products and services into the market, personalize them for every customer interaction and not be one size fits all, segment of one as we call it. So that's something which is on top of most of the retail banks. How do I compete with the challenger banks? Again, there are a lot of discussions around should I compete with the fintechs or should I collaborate? I think it's a separate topic in itself. There's a lot of room for collaboration. And when we talk about the open banking, the kind of use cases we are talking about, there's a lot of area where banks can focus on today.
All right, well, following on from that quite nicely, I want to talk a bit more about open banking. What are some of the latest developments you've been hearing about and seeing in this area?
Yeah, I think open banking, while we all expected it to take off in a big way, it's been very slow, especially in the UK, because there was, and as you know, there were only 4 banks ready by the time regulations came. In the continental Europe, there is no standard as well, so there's a lot of, everybody is going in their own direction. It is still, in most cases, a PSD2 or a payment-led initiative. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more areas to focus on. So when we spoke to a few banks today in terms of how do you change yourself from a mortgage product seller to a home buying experience, so how do you bring value to your customer? And to bring that value, it's not just about your products and services, but to bring the partner ecosystem. Now, many banks here talked about partner ecosystem, but everybody's talking about a marketplace where they have these products defined. But we are talking about taking it to the next level where you are able to orchestrate the products and services of your partners, which brings in value. So the mortgage example we talked about, so how do I change it from just selling a mortgage product to selling a home buying experience, which starts from the time you're searching for a house, all the way down to the actual move and the utility that goes along with it. So these are some of the interesting use cases which resonated very well with some of the banks here. And I think as we progress into 2020, there will be more path-breaking, innovative ways of utilizing open banking.
And I'll come a little bit sort of to that outlook for the future a bit more in a bit. But what I'd love to hear is sort of your involvement and Suntec's work in the open banking space. What are you doing?
Yeah. So when we started this journey about a year and a half ago, we actually met up with about 50 odd banks in Europe. to understand what's their view about open banking. And thanks to all the inputs we received, we actually came up with this whole offering for the open banking space, which was not about API monetization alone, but it was about revenue share models. So these are different revenue models that are available out there, which is opened up through the open banking initiative. So our conversations with them are not, don't go after API monetization, go after newer revenue models. The home buying experience is one, the supply chain management is another one, where the value is of a different magnitude. And so how do you bring that together? So once you're ready with your PSD2 compliance element, how do you then shift to a newer revenue model discussion? So revenue share between you and your partner. There are different pricing metrics and pricing models that are coming up where we have invested in the last 1 year. So those are the conversations we are having with these banks today.
All right, and looking towards the future then, the crystal ball question as it were, what are some of the trends and how will they evolve around innovation, do you think?
No, I think there are a lot of areas banks are working on. RPA is one, automation, blockchain. I think in addition to all these new innovative technologies that are coming, I think where banks will focus on is the core of their business, which is to grow their customer base, increase the wallet share of the customers, because end of the day, they need to grow as a bank. Plug the revenue leakage, if any, innovate in terms of product and services so they can personalize and offer it to their customers. I think these are some of the areas where, while there are other innovative technologies they'll invest in, the core underlying areas of focus would be in these areas.
Fantastic. Well, Sudheer, it's been lovely speaking with you.
Lovely speaking
and I'll let you get back to the final day of Cyborgs.
Thank you very much, Anna.